I have a terrible story in my memory, which I witnessed when I joined the police. To be honest, I've seen a lot of horrors in my entire career, but that story struck me the most likely because I was still inexperienced. Or maybe I didn't know how to deal with the most terrible crime, indifference to my own children. They called us to the apartment, where the local drunks were holding festivals for a day in a row. Moreover, there was even a visit from our staff. They scared me, and the drunks seemed to understand, but it started again a day later. Let's go again, this time my carriage. They only opened the door for us for about 10 minutes. Standing on the threshold was a creature that had once been a woman, but now was a cross between a monster with dirty hair and a pickled canister. A sweet, sickly smell hit my nose, and the madam even tried to say something, apparently not understanding for what purposes we had come. There were two more of her companions in the bottle in the kitchen, or rather, in the fanfuric, because there was no decent booze anywhere. Cloudy brew, empty bottles from under the hawthorn. But that's not the worst part yet. These drunks, inexplicably, had a three-piece, so we went to inspect all the rooms. There wasn't much, and you never know what happened. The door to the back bedroom turned out to be closed, or rather it was propped up with a chair from the outside. When the fence was removed, it turned out that there was a girl lying on the bed, a very little girl, about 4 years old. Her dress was stained, her pigtails were disheveled, and her hands were as thin as the twigs of a young tree. They touched her pulse, but there was no sound, and the little girl was cold and stiff. Sergei has a daughter himself, a little older than that one. He got ripped off, jumped up in the woman who's in the back room. Varia, daughter, she's sleeping. He almost killed this mother there. He managed to hit it well with them, but several times before we pulled him away. It turned out later that the child was really bothering them to drink. 1 minute he asks for food, the next he starts talking. It was these parents. One of the drunks turned out to be her father, who locked her in a room. They closed it and forgot. A few days have passed in a drunken stupor, and the girl has no food or water there. And there's nowhere to go. The 8th floor. That's the horror. When they were already being taken out, the people had not yet gathered. The neighbors were just crowding around their apartments. Everyone was looking. No one knew yet that the girl was dead. The corpse truck did not arrive. The body was not taken out. So on the landing, we met one grandfather, such an urban lunatic, in a hat with ear flaps and a coat. They say it's June for all of you. I have my own weather. I stopped and let's start a bonfire of drunks. Damn you, burn you in hell for your deed well, and the like. But the strange thing about this terrible story is that less than a month has passed. All three died. This dad was the first one. They were leading him to the trail. He slipped out of the blue and hit his head on the door jamb. The mother, in a crowded cell in the pretrial detention center, took out a belt somewhere and hanged herself. Although, most likely, the guards helped all the cellmates. And the third, who was released for lack of evidence of a crime, took a fatal dose of alcohol a week after his release. I kept thinking after that terrible story, was it all a coincidence? Or did that madman really curse them? But did these deaths make anyone feel better? You can't bring the girl back anyway. And if you don't want such a neighborhood, then you should quickly build a frame house.